Hi, I'm Craig Fraser. I'm going to show you some reduction techniques using Wicked colors. Now we got a little bottle of Wicked orange right here. Always give it a shake. I don't care which paint you've got. You always shake it up. They always can tend to settle. And we're going to pour a little right into our cup. Now, why would you actually rather mix in a cup than just in a bottle? Well, when you mix in a cup, you can actually see what you're doing a little bit better. You can add other colors to it. I'm going to add some 40-12 reducer right in here. How much? Oh, I'd say between 5 to 10%. You can add more, but you can always start out with 5 to 10%. You can always add more if you need it. Give it a good little stir. And when it's all said and done, got a nice mix there that we can take and put in our bottle and squeeze right into the airbrush. Now, if we want to mix in the bottle, we can do that as well. Give it a good shake. I always recommend having the paint in a bottle with a lid so you can tighten and turn off, because basically otherwise this paint will dry by air and your paint's going to dry out really fast, which just sits in a cup. So got that nice and reduced, and it's ready to put in an airbrush. Okay, we showed the real simple reduction of just adding 40-12 to the Wicked colors. Let's take it up a notch. Now, what am I doing with this? We're actually going to add some balancing clear, some 40-30. And what this does, it makes the paint a little bit more durable, adds adhesion to it, makes the paint dry a little bit better, even makes it more sprayable, more tapeable. And when would you want to use that? Well, if you're working on a hard surface, or you're working on something that may be questionable for adhesive, shoes, canvases, some types of leathers, the 40-30 just really makes the paint a lot stronger. And the great thing is you can add more 40-30 to your paint to reduce the color strength down, by actually making it more translucent, and it doesn't make the paint any weaker, it actually makes it stronger. So we had that original bottle here. Now we could just go ahead and take our 40-30, just add it right to this bottle. And you're never going to add too much. The worst it'll ever do is it'll be really faint color-wise, but it won't be any less strong. If you just add reducer to your paint, and just to make it really, really thin, that paint can actually start becoming weak and become what's called binder pour, where the pigments start breaking down, it won't stick, it sprays badly, it doesn't dry well. So basically this is a great way that helps you get a translucency without over reduction. What I'd recommend doing if you haven't mixed paint yet is to go ahead and take your 40-30, give it a shake. I know it's not color, it still has some different products in there that can stratify, and you want to make sure you shake everything except for your reducers. Shake your reducers, they can make little bubbles, that causes problems. So our 40-30 there. Let's take our 40-12, it's the recommended reducer of choice. How much am I adding in? 5, maybe 10% at the most. Don't need a whole lot with that. And give it a good stir. We're making the slurry right here. Now, why am I doing this and not adding the paint right away? It's better, if you get a choice, to add reducer to the binder and mix it than to add straight reducer to your paint. Reason being is some pigments, not all, but some can actually shock when you add the reducer directly to it. So we're making that slurry first, then I'll come in with my pigment. How much? I'd go about 50-50, maybe a little bit less. Don't need a lot in there. And give it a stir. You see how it literally just mixes really nice right away. When that's all said and done, we can, if you want, you can just take it and add it to your bottle. See, the cool thing is there's not going to be any reactive issues at all. The 40-30 will blend right in. You can stir it. Stirring is great because you can see how you're adding paint, and you can see it better than the bottle. In the bottle, you kind of have to, look at it and peek at it. The bottles, though, are great for storage. Never just have your paint lying around open. It'll dry, oxidize, start forming a skin. That skin breaks down, and now you got dirt inside your paint. Not to mention contaminants can get in your paint. You don't really want that. So give it a good shake, and that's ready to airbrush. Now, one extra thing I'd recommend doing, if you have a choice, if you're mixing a bunch of colors, or let's say you're mixing a lot of paint and you're going to be spraying with a spray gun, like for wall murals or large areas, get yourself a larger container, make a bigger slurry first. Make your 40-30 and 40-12 slurry, and mix that ahead of time. Then sit it off to the side, put a cap on it, and whenever you're mixing your paints and you're grabbing your Wicked, you can then take an empty bottle and mix up your 50-50 mix or whatever mix you want, shake it up, and go from there. The reason I recommend doing that is it saves material. You're not making a bunch of paint ahead of time, which usually you waste on. My partner Dion always says mix to spray, which means don't mix, use half of it and throw the rest out, because this does have a shelf life. As soon as you add any reducer or any of the balancing clears to any of these paint lines, it reduces the shelf life. Now, some people think it's a bad idea. It's not. It's actually good, because it increases the dryability, increases adhesion, increases durability. It basically makes the paint a complete system. This is also why they don't make the paint ready to spray. Ready to spray sounds great, but We want you to have the best paint possible, not the fastest and cheapest paint possible. So in this situation, it's a great balancing act. The paint itself is already formulated. It can spray right out of the bottle. We're showing you how to make it even better. And that slurry is a good way of doing that ahead of time. That's a great trick. Another reason that I like doing that ahead of time, if you sit it off the side, if you can do this for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, it's amazing the difference the paint makes. And the reason being is that letting the paint sit when it's all mixed up allows the paint to emulsify, allows the pigments to kind of melt into the binder. And if you're hyper reducing your paint like Corey St. Clair does, where he does those really fine details with his whites and his blacks using the transparent white and black wickeds, if you do that with the additional 40-30 and you add the reducer and let it sit, it's a totally different paint. It sprays so much nicer and it just gets better. Now, it doesn't just keep on getting better the longer it sits. There is a bell curve involved. But let it sit for a little bit, especially with large size spray guns. I say definitely mandatory. Make the time, it's worth it. So there's some great little tricks and ideas. Hope you've enjoyed them, and I'll see you next time.